Okay. The Japanese cultural property I'll be talking about is sushi, and my name is Pam Ashley Tabong. Sorry about the cranky voice. Okay. Restart. We know sushi is like the food most people, not most people, but a lot of people enjoy eating. They prefer it cooked sometimes and sometimes not. People who do the cooked tastes good, the uncooked tastes good. It just depends on who is eating it. There's some people who prefer cooked food because they feel like it's safer. And if it does have any bacteria, the heat is gonna destroy it. And they see as food that is not cooked as sometimes not safe. And it depends on where you're getting it. I do believe not cooked sushi tastes as amazing as the cooked one. And there are people who prefer eating just the veggie sushi because it has no meat and they don't do meat. So, okay, the background brief history. Sushi is vinegared rice, usually with some sugar and salt, alongside seafood, usually raw, and, with some veggies. So, here is just saying there are people, sushi is made up of, you could be seafood, cooked or uncooked, and veggies, since some people don't eat meat. Okay. Legends and folklore tells us a story of an ancient Japanese wife who hides her pot of rice in an osprey's nest for the fear of thieves stealing them. As time went by, she went to an osprey's nest to collect her rice and noticed the rice had begun to ferment, and scraps of fish from the osprey's food was mixed into it. It tasted good, and the rice was served as a way to preserve fish. So here it's just saying that when she left the rice in the osprey's nest, and when probably the mom feeding her kids, and the scraps of food just falls into the nest with the rice, and she noticed after some time that the rice was fermented and the fish was still in perfectly good condition. It was edible and good. So, yeah. And it was also gotten from a Chinese dictionary in the 4th century. Talked in salted fish being put into cooked rice and caused to undergo fermentation. This was probably the first concept of sushi ever appearing in print. So it's just saying back in the days, seemed like a very long time ago, the Chinese discovered that salted fish being put in cooked rice underwent fermentation, and it was pretty good. So that idea came from there too, I believe. Okay, we go on to the next slide. More history. Sushi was likely introduced in the 9th century Japan, and as Buddhism spread more, Japanese people consume more as Buddhists fed on non-meat food. So here is basically saying, since Buddhists were not like eating the meaty foods, the Japanese people, and they had to diets and stuff, they were based on veggies. And so the Japanese people tend to eat more of the meaty dishes because, it was more like something they did all the time. The Japanese people were credited for first for eating sushi as a complete dish, that is, eating fermented rice with preserved fish. The combination of rice and fish called nare sushi, or aged fish. The combination of rice and fish was called nare sushi, or aged fish. So, the Japanese people were credited for eating sushi as a complete dish. It means they had their rice in the bowl, with their fresh fish lined up, and they had it like a full dish. And that was when, it came about that Japanese people were the people who came up with this idea. They were credited for it. Um, Hanaya Yoe is believed to be the inventor of modern sushi, nigiri sushi, which is a type of sushi where seafood is hand pressed with vinegared rice. So yeah, he was the one who brought the idea, who started the idea of sushi bin. I think that was back in the 1966. I didn't put the date down. Sorry about that. Where he put, I think it was during the Edo period. He put the seafood in and then put the rice hand pressed, and yeah, that was how he came up with that, and people enjoyed it. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. How is it appreciated, consumed in Japan? Okay, we go on. Sushi is enjoyed with raw meat or vegetable, often as the Japanese people highly value the natural and original flavor of ingredients and consider it as something to be retained. This was something, I believe this was the first thing we learned, I think the first week of school, where we were taught that the Japanese people saw raw seafood, like raw fish, as good. Like, it was good because they believed that as it was fresh and new like that, it still had all the original flavor intact, and it was just beautiful. And they thought that was how food should be eaten, which I very well appreciate that. That is beautiful itself. Sushi is served, or rather eaten, with wasabi, dipping in soy sauce or pickled ginger, and sushi is often wrapped in seaweed. The idea of wrapping it in seaweed came about later, but the Japanese people did enjoy eating their sushi with soy sauce. It was, and pickled ginger and wasabi, which wasabi I don't really enjoy because it's, but they did enjoy eating it like that. And most of the time they ate them with using chopsticks, or some of them just used their hands, which is a good way. As time went by, modern quick fermentation was used, which made sushi making quicker in minutes rather than hours or days. And it was served with a 10 slice of raw fish. Okay, next slide. U.S. attitudes towards sushi. A lot of Americans are not a fan of eating raw meat with rice, as it could lead to some health problems or is not seen as safe. As such, sushi can be cooked, fried seafood, veggies, or eaten raw. Sushi is served with an add-on like cream cheese, spicy mayo, which we know about, and deep-fried rolls, which is good for the non-raw food eaters. It is very popular now in the U.S., and there are a lot of sushi restaurants which serve cooked and fresh, uncooked sushi. The raw seafood or veggies was wrapped in seaweed and rice on the outside of the seaweed. Since this was not what was done back when it was in Japan, before it was like modified as time went by. So that was what happened as time went by. How sushi made it to the U.S. market. Los Angeles was the first city in the U.S. to accept sushi in the year 1966, where Noritoshi Kanai and Harry Wolf opened a Kawafuku restaurant at Little Tokyo, which was the first to serve traditional nigiri to American patrons. The business was successful and later introduced American colleagues, which led to the opening of sushi or show in Hollywood and catered to celebrities. This was the final push as other sushi bars opened in New York and Chicago, then spreading in the U.S. Why is sushi widely accepted in the U.S.? Sushi is widely accepted in the U.S. because of its taste. It is exquisite. It tastes really amazing. You enjoy the freshness and the explosion of flavors from your mouth, which is not often seen in other dishes. It is a delicacy of seafood, veggies, and rice, which is exquisite. Sorry about that. Okay. Was sushi adopted exactly as it is in Japan? I came to a conclusion that it was not adopted exactly as it was made in Japan. A little changes were made, like the rice being on the outside of the seaweed. Additions like cream cheese, spicy mayo, and deep fried rolls are how Americans prefer their sushi, which is slightly different from the original. The main idea of seafood and rice is still present, just a little add-ons and modifications have been made. And even vegetarians can enjoy sushi now because it can be made with just vinegared rice and veggies instead of seafood. Okay, disadvantages and advantages of eating sushi. Disadvantages, we'll go with that first. Parasites or bacteria and tapeworms in raw fish could cause illnesses. Fried rolls are usually made in canola oil, which canola oil is not one of the best oils out there because it causes health issues like inflammation and has a lot of calories. So, yeah. Grocery store sushi is a breeding ground for bacteria. I would definitely agree with that. I would prefer to go to a restaurant and buy sushi than buy from a grocery store, which they just make them and seal them up and put them in front. Like, no. American wasabi is not the real wasabi as it is made from horseradish and Greek food coloring. Horseradish is not harmful, but food diet can be unhealthy. Yep. So now we're going to the advantages. Sushi keeps obesity away with the presence of iodine from seaweed. Yep. And next, increases blood circulation due to the presence of iron, which helps create more red blood cells from fish and soy sauce. Wasabi contains antioxidants which can fight off cancer. Yes, ginger and seaweed does the same. It helps fight cancer. Fish can help. Fish can help with osteoporosis, especially raw fish, which is a good source of calcium as it keeps hair and nails healthy. It is rich in proteins, which helps repair muscles and aids with building the body. Osteoporosis is like it makes your bones like brittle, like weak, so calcium helps strengthen them, so that's a good thing. And this is the end. These are my sources. I got them from. So yeah. Thank you so much and have a great day.